We like to believe we are the masters of our own minds. We imagine ourselves as rational architects, carefully weighing every pro and con before we make a choice. We see our consciousness as a clear lens through which we view the world, making logical decisions about our careers, our relationships, and our finances. But what if I told you that most of your life is actually lived on autopilot? From the coffee you choose to the person you trust, an invisible machinery is making decisions for you before you even think to ask. Welcome to the surprising truth about human thinking. For decades, the dominant theory in economics was that humans were econs, logical beings who always acted in their own best interest. But Daniel Kahneman, a psychologist who won the Nobel Prize in economics, shattered this myth. He revealed that our brains are a battleground between two competing systems. Daniel Kahneman's groundbreaking research, summarized in his masterpiece, Thinking Fast and Slow, uncovered the hidden architecture of human judgment. He proved that we are not the rational machines we think we are. Instead, we are governed by two distinct systems of thought that operate in completely different ways. System 1 is the fast, instinctive, and emotional engine of our intuition. System 2 is the slow, logical, and effortful auditor of our reason. Together, they create the complex tapestry of human behavior, but they also lead us into predictable, systematic errors. In this documentary, we will explore these two systems, the mental shortcuts that lead us astray, and the powerful biases that pull the strings of our reality. By the end, you will never look at your own thoughts the same way again. Section 2. System 1. Imagine you're walking down a dark alley and you hear a sudden, sharp noise behind you. Before you even have a conscious thought, your heart is racing, your muscles are tensed, and you've already started to turn around. This is System 1 in action. It operates automatically and quickly, with little or no effort and no sense of voluntary control. It is your intuition, your gut feeling, and your primal survival instinct. It is the legacy of millions of years of evolution, designed to keep you alive in a world of immediate threats. System 1 doesn't wait for permission. It simply reacts. It is always on, scanning your environment for patterns, threats, and familiar faces. It is the part of your brain that knows that 2 + 2 = 4, but it's also the part that instantly dislikes someone because of the way they are standing. System 1 is a master of pattern recognition. When you look at an angry face, you don't reason that the person is upset by analyzing the angle of their eyebrows. You just know, instantly. It's the same system that allows you to read a billboard without effort, or complete the phrase, bread and butter, without thinking. Because it is tied to our emotions, System 1 is incredibly persuasive. It creates first impressions that feel undeniably true. However, its speed comes at a cost. It is prone to systematic errors. System 1 jumps to conclusions based on very little evidence, a process Kahneman calls "what you see is all there is." It prioritizes a coherent story over factual accuracy. If a story feels right, System 1 accepts it as truth, making it a powerful but fundamentally unreliable engine for complex modern decisions. Section 3. System 2. This is the brain's slow mode. It is the part of your mind that handles logical reasoning, complex calculations, and long-term planning. While System 1 is like a wild, instinctive animal, System 2 is like a careful, analytical scientist. It allocates attention to the effortful mental activities that demand it. System 2 is the you that you identify with, the conscious, reasoning self that makes choices and decides what to think about. Try solving 17 times 24 in your head right now. You can feel the physical shift. Your pupils dilate, your heart rate rises, and your muscles tense. This is System 2 drawing power. It is energy intensive and exhausting, which is why your brain is biologically wired to avoid using it whenever possible. This is the law of least effort. If System 1 can provide a quick, easy answer, System 2 will usually just nod its head and go back to sleep. System 2 is the only part of our mind capable of doubting, questioning, and overriding our initial impulses. It is the seat of self-control. It's what stops you from eating that third donut or saying something rude to your boss. However, because it is so lazy, it often acts as a mere rubber stamp for the intuitions generated by System 1. When System 2 is busy or tired, a state called ego depletion, it becomes even less likely to check the work of the impulsive System 1. This is why we make our worst decisions when we are exhausted. True intelligence isn't just about having a powerful System 2. It's about having the discipline to actually wake it up when the stakes are high. It is our internal auditor, the slow voice of reason in a world that demands we react instantly. Without it, we are simply passengers to our instincts. Section 4. Heuristics. The word sounds academic, but it simply means mental shortcuts. Because the world is too complex for our slow System 2 to analyze every detail, our brains develop rules of thumb to make quick decisions. Heuristics are the brain's way of simplifying difficult questions. For example, instead of asking, "Is this investment a sound financial choice for my long-term retirement goal?" System 1 asks a simpler question: "Do I like the look of this company?" If the answer is yes, we buy the stock. This is called substitution. We replace a hard question with an easy one without even noticing. We judge a restaurant's quality by the length of the line outside, or a person's competence by how attractive they are. These shortcuts were vital for our ancestors. If you heard a rustle in the grass, it was better to run than to wait for data. But in the modern world of finance, medicine, and politics, these shortcuts often lead us into hidden traps. One of the most powerful heuristics is the familiarity bias. System 1 confuses ease of processing with truth. If we have heard a brand name many times, our brain feels a sense of cognitive ease when we see it. We interpret this ease as safety or quality. This is the secret behind all global advertising. It's not about logic, it's about making a concept so familiar that System 2 never bothers to question it. We don't choose the best option, we choose the one that feels the most known. Heuristics allow us to make thousands of daily choices effortlessly, but they also mean we are constantly answering the wrong questions. We are biased toward what is simple, what is familiar, and what is easy to believe. To think better, we must learn to recognize when our brain is taking the easy way out and force ourselves to look closer at the actual facts. Accuracy requires effort. Heuristics are tools, but if we aren't careful, they become our blinders. Section 5. The anchoring effect. This is one of the most quantifiable and powerful biases in psychology. Anchoring occurs when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive, the anchor, when making a judgment or decision. Like a real anchor, this first number holds our thoughts in place, preventing us from drifting too far away from it, even if that number is completely irrelevant to the choice at hand. It is a form of psychological gravity. Think about a retail sale. If you see a watch priced at $500, but the tag says original price $1,000, your brain anchors to that $1,000 figure. The $500 now feels like a bargain, even if the watch is actually worth only $200. You aren't judging the price of the watch, you are judging it relative to the anchor. Kahneman proved this in experiments where even spinning a random wheel of fortune before asking a question would anchor people's answers. Their minds couldn't help but be influenced by the random number. In business and negotiations, the first person to name a price sets the anchor. Every following offer will revolve around that number. Whether it's a salary discussion or buying a house, the anchor pulls our judgment toward it like a magnet. This is why retailers always show the suggested retail price next to their discount. They are setting your anchor to make their price look better. To resist anchoring, you must deliberately search for reasons why the anchor might be wrong. Don't let the first number dictate the terms of your reality. Kahneman suggests a pre-mortem, or a deliberate attempt to find contradictory information. You have to consciously pull up the anchor by introducing new data into your system too. It is hard work, but it is the only way to stay objective in a world of sales and negotiations. Awareness of the anchor is your only shield against its pull. In any negotiation, the person who understands the anchor has the upper hand. In any purchase, the person who ignores the anchor saves the most money. Section 6. The availability bias. This heuristic makes us judge the frequency or probability of an event by how easily examples come to mind. If a memory is vivid, emotional, or recent, System 1 assumes it must be common. This is why we are terrible at assessing risk. Take the fear of flying. Many people are terrified of plane crashes but think nothing of driving to the store. Yet, statistically, driving is far more dangerous. Because plane crashes are dramatic and widely reported, they are more available in our memory. The shark attack is available. It's easy to visualize, it's scary, and it's dramatic. The falling coconut or the heart attack is boring. System 1 ignores the boring statistics and focuses on the dramatic story. This bias dictates where we spend our money, what we fear, and even how we vote. We don't judge the world based on statistics. We judge it based on the stories that have left the deepest mark on our memory. Emotional availability, not factual frequency, is our ruler. We build our worldview based on the small, sensational sample of reality that we personally observe or hear about. The modern news cycle is an availability machine. By bombarding us with rare, catastrophic events, terrorism, freak accidents, and natural disasters, it creates an availability cascade. We begin to believe the world is far more dangerous than it actually is. This leads to irrational demands for regulation and a constant state of anxiety. We are living in the safest time in human history, yet our availability bias makes us feel like we are on the brink of collapse. We are reacting to the volume of the noise, not the truth of the signal. Your personal experiences also skew your judgment. If you've recently seen a friend get promoted, you'll think promotions are easier to get. Everyone thinks they are the hardest worker because their own effort is always available to them. To counter this, we must look at the data, not just our memories. Ask yourself, am I remembering this because it's frequent or just because it's vivid? Don't mistake a loud memory for a common reality. True risk assessment requires System 2 to look at the numbers and ignore the headlines. Awareness of availability is the key to mental peace and rational action. Section 7. Overconfidence and the illusion of understanding. We have an almost pathological need to believe that the world is orderly and predictable. To satisfy this need, we create narrative fallacies, stories that explain the past in a way that makes it seem inevitable. We look at a successful company like Google or Apple and tell a story of brilliant strategy, ignoring the massive role of luck and timing. This creates the illusion that we can understand the past, which leads to the dangerous belief that we can predict the future. This is known as hindsight bias. Once an event happens, we convince ourselves that we knew it all along. This gives us a false sense of security, making us think we can predict the next market crash or political upheaval just as easily. Kahneman conducted research on professional stock pickers and political pundits and found that their predictions were often no better than random chance. Yet these experts were incredibly confident. Why? Because confidence is a feeling generated by System 1's cognitive ease. It has nothing to do with accuracy. The more coherent a story is, the more confident we feel in it, even if the story is based on nothing but air. We also suffer from the planning fallacy. Whether it's the Sydney Opera House or a simple home renovation, we consistently underestimate time and cost. We focus only on our own internal view, the specific steps of our plan, and ignore the external view, the statistics of how long similar projects actually take. We are optimistic by nature, but this optimism is a form of blindness. To succeed, we must stop being visionaries and start being statisticians. We must learn to embrace the possibility that we are wrong. The world is far more random than we want to admit. True intelligence lies in recognizing the limits of what we know and being comfortable with uncertainty. Stop trusting your gut when the stakes are high. Overconfidence is the greatest enemy of sound judgment. It blinds us to the risks we haven't seen and the data we haven't gathered. To be truly rational is to be humble. To admit that our understanding of the world is a fragile story, we tell ourselves to feel safe. In the face of a complex future, the only honest answer is often, I don't know. Humility is the foundation of better decisions. Section 8. Final Lessons. Daniel Kahneman's work doesn't just explain why we fail, it gives us a roadmap to think better. The first step toward wisdom is recognizing that you are not a rational being. You are a being that is capable of rationality, but only with great effort. You cannot fix your brain or delete System 1. It is who we are, but we can learn to manage the machine. The most important lesson is to slow down. When you face a major decision, financial, professional, or personal, recognize the cognitive ease that System 1 loves and deliberately invite System 2 to the table. Question your intuition. Just because a conclusion feels right or obvious doesn't mean it's true. Ask yourself, what evidence am I missing? Am I being anchored by a number? Am I only looking at what is available in my memory? By naming the bias, you strip it of its power. You force System 2 to take the wheel. Awareness is the only shield against the invisible architecture of your own mind. Slow thinking is hard work, but it is the only path to a life of clarity. The most powerful lesson from Kahneman is intellectual humility. Accept that you don't understand the world as well as you think you do. Accept that your gut is often a liar. Embrace the uncertainty and the randomness of life. When you stop trying to be right and start trying to be less wrong, your world opens up. You begin to see the hidden strings, the anchors, and the stories that once controlled you. You become the architect of your own judgment. Thinking fast is a gift of evolution. Thinking slow is the labor of wisdom. In the dance between these two systems, we find the beauty and the tragedy of the human experience. As you leave this library today, carry this one thought with you. The next time you are certain about something, take a breath, pause, and ask yourself, what am I missing? Self-awareness is the ultimate competitive advantage. It is the light that guides us through the fog of our own biases. Thank you for watching this journey through the machinery of the mind. Welcome to the Midnight Library. Your journey into the silence has just begun. Thinking slow might be hard, but it is the only way to truly see. Farewell.